Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 118th edition of ClariTea Chat. Today we have with us Satyaki Mookerjee, Chief Digital Officer of CEAT, one of India's leading tire manufacturers in the global markets. Hey, hi Satyaki, welcome to the session. Cheers.
Hi, good evening, Jagdish, and thanks for having me here.
Welcome, Satyaki. So, a quick introduction about Satyaki. He has over 28 years of IT delivery and digital transformation experience in oil and gas, chemicals, metal and mining industries, and consumer goods across North America, Europe, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. He studied electrical engineering from MNNIT Allahabad, now MNNIT Prayagraj. Well, my own college, I think 2 years down the line. Started his career with telco like me, but I went into service, he went into design manufacturing, and he started with design, moved to maintenance and supply chain before transitioning to tech world as SAP subject matter expert in the SAP project. His rich experience ranges from Accenture, IBM, and Tata Hitachi before joining CEAT a year ago as Chief Digital Officer. He believes in equality in workplace, and is a strong advocate for inclusion and diversity. Uh, I can say me too. Yeah. So he's passionate about mentoring new leaders and builds trust-based relationship with his team, clients, and stakeholders. And you will see the importance of all these in the digital transformation effort. So he will. So coming to the session, some of the things we will cover with the background of his journey is we'll talk about four pillars of digital transformation: culture, talent, technology, and use cases. Well, when he's doing it here, we'll start with his stints in the global bigwigs like Accenture and IBM, and what are the things he learned there. Um, and then coming to his transition from IT and digital delivery to being a CDO and building a talent ecosystem, because you can't have all the talent in your organization, right? So um, we'll of course cover his life story, and these things will be in the backdrop with his life story at the backdrop. But our focus will be on technology delivery excellence to business transformation success. We'll of course end the round with a round of rapid fire questions. You are also welcome to contribute to those rapid fires, and then of course there is a question to me. So for now, Satyaki, before we start talking of serious things, let's get some energy going up. So tell us like your funniest professional moment.
Well, so thanks, Jagdish. And to be very honest, since I'm having this kind of a talk show, so it occurred. So it was in a panel discussion in an academic institute of eminence. And what happened was the anchor got switched at the last moment. Okay. So, okay. And I was introduced as a chief marketing officer and saying he has tons of years. So obviously it was the 11th hour change in the anchor. The anchor didn't have time to prep and get the backgrounds right, and there it happened. I was introduced as a chief marketing officer, and then I was in a spot how to do this. So obviously there was a bit of fun getting this realigned. Yeah, uh, but that
I'm sure.
underscores the importance of preparation.
Oh, absolutely. So it talks about the importance of preparation as well as having to impersonate your CMO. I hope you're still in good terms with them. Well, none of your mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I think though it's funny, but it does underline the importance of preparation. In fact, whenever I've been in panels, sometimes I find that even though we are all friends and the anchor is also a friend, but and we just think that we can have a conversation. I always force a quick prep, some sort of a role that okay. So who will focus on what aspect of the discussion? Even 5 minutes prep is quite good actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So before we go ahead, Satyaki, I just want to acknowledge our audience. Some of them have started sending some comments here. So we have CXOs, founders, IT managers, and seasoned technology industry leaders in our audience. All of us know that technology is necessary but not sufficient to drive business performance. The guests on ClariTea Chat, like Satyaki, have built that bridge between necessary and sufficient. And that bridge is the art of managing technology because the science hasn't evolved yet. And ClariTea Chat builds that bridge between their learnings and all of you who are trying to make a powerful impact with technology. So thank you all for joining us for 117 episodes so far for the last almost 3 years and encouraging us with your interactions. That keeps us going. May I request all my audience to share their name and where they are joining from in the comment box of LinkedIn or YouTube. I've already started getting some comments here, so let me bring these in. Okay. So we have Amarinder joining us from Bengaluru. So Amarinder has joined so many ClariTea chats that he doesn't even wait for me to say that please send your name and location. He does it right away after coming. Hey, thanks, Amarinder, for being there. Okay. Good evening, Satyaki, Jagdish. I have a question coming up on digital transformation. Please do address it. Oh, of course, we will do that as soon as we
Sure.
finish the live story.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, so we have Nitin again joining from Bangalore. We have Lakshmikant ND. Hi, Jagdish. Hi, Satyaki.
Hi.
This is Lakshmikant from Pune. Hey, hi, Lakshmi. How are you? And we also have Gaurav Vyas here. Hey, guys, keep it coming and keep sending your questions. Amrinder has already started uh, in a full flow. I see a long question from him. We'll pick it up. Okay, so now let's begin the session. So, Satyaki, please give us a overview of your education career, the company's roles, and one highlight of each role in terms of how it builds up to where you are today.
Yeah. Thank you, Jagdish, and thanks to the audience for taking time and joining. So I'll just give you a brief chronological, I would say, an order. So I kind of passed out in electrical engineering from NIT Allahabad, and then from 96 to 2002, I was with Tata Hitachi, and initially in design, then in maintenance, and then in supply chain. And if I have to say one thing that stood out, it was the problem solver in me when I was in maintenance. I was in electrical and electronics maintenance. There were a lot of complex CNC machines, robots, which I had to kind of maintain, and that brought the diagnostic capability in me out. So I would say that was one of the key things, highlights that shaped who I was as an individual, a problem solver. The second one was for a brief stint with IBM Global Services, and that was as a SAP consultant. And again, uh, my first client-facing role. So at the client side, getting to know how you work, but the most important thing is understanding client value. And so when you are at a client side, what makes a client successful? And when you say a client, it is not the IT of the client, it is the business of the client. And that is what business loves. I think that is what was the key takeaway for me in that role. The third, when I went then moved to Accenture for a period of 5 years, that's where I got exposure to one of the largest and matured clients, a Fortune 100 client at that time, oil and gas, based in UK, a global player. And I was involved in the design, integration, system process redesign, and standardization because they had acquired two different companies. So it was a integration, systems integration plus process standardization across multiple companies. So I think extremely complex, uh, understanding oil and gas calculations, hydrocarbon calculations, there's transportation, logistics, etc. in detail. But more importantly, getting to see how you handle so many stakeholders, how does design build get done at that scale and complexity with so many you know, contrasting objectives. Uh, Again, in 2008, I moved to IBM, and that was as a segment leader. I was then in a very different kind of an environment where it was again an oil and gas client, outsourcing opportunity, and right from the RFP response of a large contract to completing the RFP response, due diligence, commercial negotiation, contract negotiation, finally transition and delivery. So right from beginning till the end, the entire life cycle, how do you go through? And especially understanding what makes up the business case was again a key learning. Finally, again, I felt that I should go back to Accenture, and this is where I had my largest stint. So, out of my 17 years with Accenture, this was my second stint, but this is where it was a host of different things, right from global transformations, global digital transformations, global IT transformations, design, build, uh, global templates, local templates, um, even when you design a digital solution, how do you start from the business case all the way to deployment? I, I think those were the real standout factors. Um, and that helped me understand the solution from a client's lens. So understanding the client, putting myself in a client's shoes, in client-facing roles, I think that has been a significant learning. And then I felt that if I have to be at the heart of digital, which is which is the actual deployment of digital technologies, I decided I'll have spent a lot of time with the service providers. Now let me move to the domain, to the core business aspect, and that's where I took up the role of a chief digital officer at CEAT. And while you may not know, so CEAT got certified by the World Economic Forum in Lighthouse. So we got a Lighthouse certification from the World Economic Forum for our maturity in digital adoption and the emerging technology adoption at scale, and is the first tire company globally to have got that the accreditation from the World Economic Forum. So it was a quite a proud moment for us. But in general, it it's given me the kick and the whole passion to deploy digital at scale. So we can talk about that in more detail about the current role. But that's a more of a snapshot, Jagdish.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So, I mean, let me just recap this quickly. So, solving problems at Tata Hitachi, being on site in IBM, understanding clients' context, values, being on site. Then coming to Accenture, learning the oil and gas industry, the process standardization, managing multiple stakeholders, and of course, like delivering IT in the context of that. Again, coming back to IBM, again getting into oil and gas, end-to-end cycle of right from your RFP to due diligence to transition and delivery, and then delivering the business case. And then again coming to Accenture and delivering global IT and digital transformation, delivering business cases, and understanding solutions from a client point of view. And then finally, the itch to own the digital outcomes and therefore the CDO role, own and deliver the digital outcomes. And well, CEAT is one of the companies who has got a World Economic Forum, what will you call it, certification or acknowledgement in being a
It's
maturity in digital adoption.
yeah, it's a certification. It's called Lighthouse certification uh, for
Okay,
companies who are most advanced in IoT and Industry 4.0 technologies.
okay, awesome, awesome. So yeah, we see like how one is building up to the other, but there's something you didn't say which I picked up, and it's always actually a matter of pride that you got called back by the organization twice over. You did two stints with IBM and two stints with Accenture, which basically is a big, you can say, certification or validation that, hey, you know what, we want you back. You are adding a lot of value.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Satyaki, now let's dive down a little deeper into this. I mean, on learning this global nature and learning the best practices, and you worked with two of the best organizations, IBM and Accenture. So let's go a little deeper into what you learned, and in the context of how it is helping you being
Yeah.
a CDO. What are those things that you see, that you saw the clients they're doing, which you are adopting now, and what are the things that you did on the supplier side that you are kind of beware of when you are on the other side?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jagdish, it's like this. I think the most important thing, and I'll tell you where things go wrong. If you are on the service provider side, you are probably only thinking of when a project comes. Let's say you've been a project. One of the things that you start thinking is, how do I first set up my team? The staffing, how will I get my staffing done with the right skills? This is always a problem. But the first thing I would start to say is, do I understand the business case of the client, right? Why is this project even launched? And this is something I had always, so we used to have a boss, okay? And I learned this from my boss. So whenever I would go with a solution, the first thing he would say, tell me, how is the client doing today? What is the motivation of the client? Why he is even, you know, so I can even name him. His name is Ajit Kumar. He is the president at HCL today. I mean, he has been a great mentor. And not just him, I had bosses like Prashant Dhume in Accenture. I mean, great mentors and all, who you would start with the question, why? Forget the solution, the staffing, everything. Do you understand the value prop? Why the client actually gave this to you? If you understand that well, then you understand what solution you are building. Is there an alignment between the solution and the business case? The second part is, many times you have built a solution, but the solution doesn't align to your business case. Okay. The second part is, you build a solution right, but your underlying capability and the solution doesn't align. So I may have built a perfectly theoretical solution, but I may not have the capability to deliver it, or the capability in the ecosystem to deliver it. And third, my client has a business case. They have given a certain requirement, but their stakeholders' expectations are different. So I've created a contract where the contract and the expectations don't match. So I think what we learned, I think this is the biggest learning that I had. If you want to build any transformation which is successful, it is very important to understand right from business case, solution. When I say solution, I mean the design, the architecture, the contract, the measurables, the KPIs, they all need to be aligned. And as a delivery lead, right? And the talent ecosystem all need to be aligned. Otherwise, as a delivery lead, we should be keeping on checking, where can things go wrong? Where are things really aligned, or are they falling apart? So this has been my biggest learning. And the reason why am I calling this out, whether you are in IT, whether you are in digital, whether I'm sitting on the side of the service provider, or I'm in the CDO role today, this is one thing that has been consistently applied across. This certain principle has not changed, whether I've been on that side of the table or I've been on this side of the table. So I would say that has been one of the first learnings I would call out. Okay. The second one, obviously, when you are doing designs, how do you do your requirement gatherings? Where can you go wrong? So we have done analysis. So I know there are projects where we have gone wrong, but we have actually gone and done an RCA to see where did we go wrong in gathering the expectations of the client. How did the expectation gathering did not translate to a solution design? So where did the traceability fall? Or you may have designed something. From the design, you did not actually build, or you built something, but you failed to test it. And these nuances come all the more when you are in digital, because you lead with a lot of data. So the principle may broadly remain the same, but then when you deal with AI, when you deal with data, there is so much of uncertainty that you deal with. You may do a perfect design, but you may not get a good amount of data. you may not have the right stakeholders involved. And those are some of the key things I would say, which through pain and not always through success stories, Jagdish, there have been, I would say, failure stories as well, or setback stories as well, where things did not go well. And uh, and I've had those kinds of experiences as well. But those are the experiences that make you wiser, they make you stronger. So I would say through both successes as well as certain setbacks, temporary setbacks, also, these are the key learnings uh, that I've acquired.
Okay. So there's a follow-up question here from Nitin. So he is looking for an example of where a solution is right, but it does not meet the business case.
Yeah. So very good question, and thanks for asking this. So the business case means there are there are certain key KPIs which must be called out. That today, ultimately, I may have a certain baseline of a KPI. Let me give an example. So, for example, let me give it an example. So, we had a supply chain transformation where one of the KPIs in the business case was OTIF and a certain on time in full OTD and average inventory level, right? And that was a business outcome we had to meet. Now, the solution that we had designed was a technical solution, and the technical solution was right. For example, we actually had blot in blue yonder in that solution. The solution design was right. What was not right was the overall change management that should have happened together along with the technical solution so that you meet the business case. So, in many cases, your technical solution could be right, but in totality, what do you need to do, including change management and adoption, to get the final business outcome needs to be seen in totality. Just a technical solution may not suffice to meet a business case. Because what really happened was there was hardly any push in adopting the solution. And because of that adoption, and I'm not saying that everything was hunky dory, there could have been things that may have been done better as well. But it's the combination of process, technology, and people parameter together which meets the business case. It's not the technology solution alone. So this is one just example. Jagdish, you are on mute.
So I muted myself for coughing. I forgot to unmute. I think that's the most common mistake in online meetings. You forget to unmute. Okay, so I mean, quick takeaways. Uh, do you understand the business case? Do you understand the motivations the client has? So I mean, I picked up this word you said very in the flow, but I caught it. It is start with why, right? You must understand it well. And then, like, you also talked about, some of the things that can go wrong, which you understood from your experience, which helps you now when you are working through these digital solutions. So, your solution and business case may not align, the solution and capabilities may not align, the contract and expectations do not match. And, something I learned today is like, you called it as traceability of requirements with respect to the design, right? Where did it come from? Who asked for it, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't use the words, but I've seen this, that, um, you know, you start with like that, phase, the requirements phase. And then when you come to the UAT or like, the showcasing phase, conference room pilot phase, there's like a big disconnect and you can't figure out how and why that disconnect is there. And I think probably one reason which I've got uh, in one of my clients was that they were not documenting those meetings very well.
Yeah,
So they were not minuting those agreements and disagreements with respect to what was going to come in the solution very well, and that led to the disputes later on. So
yeah,
the traceability was missing because of the documentation. So I think I kind of gather that there's a element of documentation also there.
yeah.
And another one
Just
which I
one
picked
point.
up. Yeah, yeah, Satyaki, go ahead.
Sorry, just responding to another point which Nitin asked, the 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 business case versus the solution. So The other issue, that particular case that happened was we were looking at just one document. What should have happened was we should have rather we failed to interview some very senior stakeholders because many things become as subtle expectations which do not always get explicitly written in a business case, and therefore from a conversion from an expectation to a business case document is not always there. And we probably looked at a more of a document. We should have probably gone deeper to interview individual stakeholders initially just to validate the business case and our understanding. That was a gap that we had. And I think, Nitin, if you are doing something like this is something it's better uh, that we explicitly double check and validate during the design or analysis phase.
No, I actually have a better example, Satyaki, in my own experience. As digital is like more going outwards from your internal organization to your partners and then to your customers and all. And many times when we are designing those systems, we actually forget to take the requirements from those people. So and there was one example which I quote quite often is that our sales guys wanted a Salesforce automation solution for the dealer salespeople. Okay, the requirement was being given by probably three levels above by the regional manager. Okay,
Yeah,
and there was a bit of jingoism in there that we will make them use it, right? And I said, listen, why do you have to do that? If you're giving them what they want, then why do you have to use that? So I wasn't very convinced. So we actually sent two guys, to write billion to the salespeople as they were going about meeting the customers, develop a friendship with them, and then maybe observe their one day in a salesman's life, and kind of validate their findings with them, right? As to what are their pain points and all of that. And that was like, we found that there were like a set of things, a set of pain points that the salespeople had. And they were very, very operational, day to day, hour to hour kind of pain points, which our guys were not really factoring. They wanted just the data. They didn't want to solve the problem. So, I mean, in this case, because we talked to the salespeople and we spent a day with them, we could actually gather the requirements, which, in my view, if I see in retrospect, which saved the project in a way.
yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, never take proxies.
exactly, exactly.
And I think the other one you mentioned, like talk to the senior stakeholders. Otherwise you will be like designing the woods, but you wouldn't be able to see the jungle, right? So to
Yeah,
get the map right, you have to talk to the senior stakeholders.
correct.
Yeah. So Satyaki, now let's come to, now that was about like learning the technology, the ropes of technology, contracts, and all the stuff that you kind
Yeah,
of navigated and understood that what all can go wrong, as you move from like a concept of a solution to the actual thing on the ground, and the long way that it goes through. Let's come to like the operational aspects of it, the operations and process aspect of it. So you
mhm,
began as a design engineer, moved to maintenance and supply chain, and then technology. So what all did you learn in your non-tech roles, and even in your tech roles as you spend time on site and all, which
yeah,
are helping you drive the digitalization
yeah.
efforts?
That's an interesting question, Jagdish. The first thing I would say is if we want success to be repeatable and consistent, if we have to ensure repeatability and consistency, the first thing which is important is understanding and having a strong understanding of methods, processes, tools. Because eventually, look at any quality process, any manufacturing process, not just IT, anything you look at, eventually it's a combination of methods, processes, and tools, and combined with KPIs and governance framework. That is what is going to hold. So I would say that's as a number one point, because what I've also seen is most of the successful projects are one where these things have gone right. We have applied the right method, the right process, the right tool. Uh, there was clarity around KPIs, what KPIs we will track. They could be IT KPIs, they could be business KPIs. So something could be as much as to say my inventory level should be X. We started with X, it will come down to Y. Or we would say, for example, in one of the in CEAT, for example, we are doing a mixer. We are optimizing the mixer cycle time using AI. Now we have given that the standard deviation is X. We are going to reduce the standard deviation to Y using different advanced AI models. Now, therefore, getting the measurement right is very important because I'll give you a very simple example. This particular case, we did a mixer optimization using digital model. And last year, when this project started, Jagdish, for the first 1 month, the KPI sign off, nobody in the team was ready to sign up on the KPI. And I'm seeing कि design chal raha hai, design is started, build is about to start. And I'm saying, boss, why have you not signed up on this? And then what happened? When we got the meeting, when we forced people to sign off, then all the can of worms opened, and there were two sets of KPIs, production asking for one set, quality asking for another set. And then I'm saying this is precisely the reason why you should have never gone into a design without knowing what is the end objective, what you're going to measure. What's your success measurement? And many cases, we are not clear about that because that will also drive your investment because that will determine the ROI of your investment as well. So we actually then stopped the project for 20 days. We went back to the drawing board. We nailed down the KPI and the target and the baseline and the target. And that helped us to stay on track with very clear objective of what I'm going to meet. So I would say those are the, again, two important things. I also talked about the alignment, so I will not repeat. So alignment between requirement, solution, capability, contract, and expectations. The fourth part, and this is something my boss used to tell me when I was in Accenture, that do the right thing for the client. And I have been in scenarios, Jagdish, where I have walked, or we as a one team in Accenture, we have walked out of the client deals because we felt the client is asking us to do things which is not right for the client in the long run. So do not do things which just because you have to win a deal, you will say yes to win a deal. And I have been in, so I have one experience of walking into a client orals and walking out saying that this is not the right thing for you, but we are not going to do what you are telling us to do. So that has been the other key learning as well. And the other important point is the digital maturity. It's very important to understand it is a journey and there has to be a roadmap. So there are four key pillars to that journey, and it will not happen over a day. So whether it is our internal stakeholder or whether it's our external stakeholder, that expectation setting is extremely important. So I would say these are some of the key things which when I as a learning when I took forward, these are helping me day in and day out.
So awesome. So again, just to do a quick recap for my audience, um, the question to Satyaki was that what lessons helped you? What are the business lessons that helped you drive the digitalization efforts? So efforts. So strong understanding of methods, processes, and tools, and that's not sufficient. You have to combine it with the KPIs and the measures of success. And he gave a good case study. By the way, I've seen that happen many times, that production and QA will always have a conflict, and I think you need to upfront to resolve those conflicts and not wait for the implementation stage. You're not getting sign-offs. Why? Because they don't agree, right? But I think the pretty courageous thing to do to stop the project and say that guys first come to the table, with a common perspective, right? um, and I think that also, in a way, I mean, just kind of mixing it with my own experiences, that's also the reason that you should have analytics. Otherwise, every department has its own Excel and graphs, and if you try to reconcile one department's presentation with the other department's presentation, you won't be able to go anywhere. And so what we call as a single version of truth. Then the other thing that Satyaki mentioned was doing the right thing for the client. And I think the last one, you did not say it as much. Satyaki, you did say that you set the expectation, but yeah, a lot of times the senior people have, an expectation that, overnight, everything will be new, and then you have to say, no, it happens in phases. You have to lay a roadmap, and it has to be done, in a way that you manner that you build the house, not the way you build a Bollywood set.
Exactly, exactly. You put it very well.
I mean, I guess, just kind of a personal sharing. As when I came out of the corporate, one of the things that I could not reconcile to was building the Bollywood sets for the guys who were trying to give me a CIO role, and I didn't want to, like, masquerade. I mean, of course, you will do the fundamental things. You will also do some short term, like, short-term successes you have to show, no doubt about it. But it was more like, the expectations were not matching the hard work that
Yeah.
people have to put in, and this real hard work. So we'll come to that. I think that sets us up, pretty nicely to our next question. But before I go there, let me see if there are any questions for you, Satyaki. Um, okay, so here is a good question from Amarinder. He says, for the end user, isn't the CIO, IT team, OEM, and SI one team? Uh, Okay, let's read the whole thing and then we'll answer one by one. Then, how does the CIO ensure during the digital transformation projects that all the stakeholders and contributors, leadership, C-suite, business users, IT team, OEM, and team, SI, and team are truly aligned towards one and the same goal? Please do share from strategy, planning, and execution perspective. Yeah. I think they're
Thanks.
interrelated, so you can answer them as you want.
Uh, Very, very appropriate question, Amrinder. So let's see, and let me share with some examples and real life stories of what has worked and what has not worked. Okay. So let's say, and it's very common to have cross-functional teams, for example, and the one that I'm talking about, the mixer optimization. People are there from R&D, people are there from technical teams, people are there from quality, people are there from production, and there people are there from digital, right? All of these are involved. And then we have our partners like AWS and stuff like that, who are also the hyperscalers. Now, where do we start? I think the most important part, therefore, is getting the project charter right. So, what does the project sponsor? And this starts with what is the project sponsor taking in his or her personal goal sheet. It is as simple as that. As a part of goal setting, what is the objective the person has taken and committed to the CEO? So actually, it started with our manufacturing head's KPI in his personal goal sheet, with what is the baseline he has taken and what is the target he has committed. Because he has taken that particular KPI, that becomes the North Star for everybody. Now, IT or digital cannot say, my work is done because I've delivered only this. The overall success of the project will depend upon when you move the dial from X to Y, which has been agreed. So, if we have to align people, that is the starting point. Now, how do we do? Each team will have to do something, right? So, there has to be only one plan. I have often seen three different review calls, three different people reviewing three different things, and that doesn't work. So, one of the best ways is to have the business. So, what I've seen working is business when they take ownership and they say, I will hold the integrated plan. So, I may have people from maintenance, from technical, from R&D, all of them doing things together, but it has to be one cross-functional owner who is nominated by the sponsor of the project. If you have multiple owners with multiple plans and with multiple reviews, it will not work. So, what has worked is one integrated plan that will be reviewed every week, where all of the stakeholders come and everybody gives their status. And eventually we see as an overall one single plan, are we moving ahead or not? And if we are successful, then each one of us successful together. If we fail, we cannot say that only one department failed. So I think if you talk about business, IT or digital, that's the only way. Otherwise, there'll be a huge divergence in terms of objectives, interests, agenda. It will never work.
Yeah. No, I think great answer, Satyaki. Yeah, it's one team. You still need to, and just to complement what Satyaki said. I mean, just to first, um, you know, give a quick summary. So, like, I think that was a great point you made. That what is the what is the KPI the program sponsor is taking in his goal sheet. It's a very, very simple but very, very strong, starting point. And then everybody aligns to it, and the project is not complete till that is achieved. And then, as you rightly mentioned, like, there's one plan, there's one team, and there's one cross-functional owner, right? And everyone kind of aligns to that. So, just to kind of complement that, and maybe like one question, Amrinder, there about like when you look at, let's say, for a technology program from a end user point of view, IT, SI product company, whether it's SAP or TCS or your own team being one team. I mean, so very important. And I think whatever metrics we see, the agenda for ClariTea Chat, that 83% of the programs fail to deliver success, is probably because there are too many cooks in the broth, and you're not able to create that one team thing. So you got the problem right, Amrinder, and I think it's, in my view, it's the CIO's role, CIO or CDO's role, to make sure that, like, this is one team, it comes across as one team. There are very clear RACs, there's very clear governance, and while and it has both aspects. While you may have the informal, all kinds of activities like get-togethers and mixers and all to build that one team, there has to be a certain amount of formality in terms, like, whether RACs or documentations or the governance happening with the right frequency, with the right stakeholders in presence. um, so it's a mix of both. So just complementing there with Satyaki. So now, Satyaki, I think we are more than halfway through. Oh my God, it doesn't leave us too much time. Amrinder's long question did us in. Okay, so let's discuss to the the key, the main focus of our discussion, to which we were kind of building up. So Satyaki, as a chief digital officer, you mentioned like four pillars of digital transformation. So walk through us, what are you doing? And this is like, uh, and guys out there, everyone, like, be very attentive. This is the golden piece of the chat.
Yeah, so I'll try and explain to the best of my ability, Jagdish. So I often call this. So this reminds me of a movie called Ben Hur, which I had seen long back. So there's a chariot race, right? And there are those. I think there were four horses, and Ben Hur was actually, managing all those four horses, right? So I often think it is very similar to the four horses and a chariot. Pulling all those four horses is something I give. And these four horses are what? The first one is culture. The culture. The second one is talent network, or the talent ecosystem. The third is the technology, the emerging technologies itself. How do I choose which emerging technology will play an important role? Which technology is matured, which is not? And most importantly, what is that use case? That means, what is the intersection point of my business problem and technology so that I can solve the problem? So if I take these four, let's go one by one. So digital culture, right? Now, how do we build it? We all understand, and it's about digital first. The question is, how do you build this? One, obviously, we have done a lot of things top down to say it is in the KPI of the leaders. So the way we have done this, at least two goals have to be, one or two goals have to be in the goal sheet of the top leaders reporting to the CEO. Okay, that's how we have done that. Now, but only a top level thing doesn't work. A culture is never always a top down, just a HR driven thing. It is also about how do you practice it day to day. So a lot of hackathons we run, technology, the innovation sessions. So we run annual innovation contests that get handsomely paid. We run local hackathons to solve an assignment that gets paid out, right? So that you encourage and you give rewards. And all of that, uh, what that happens is it is also in the KPI of the local leaders to create digital champions. Because without creating digital champions in the business, only the digital or the IT team will never be able to build that at scale. So it has to be like talking and feeling digital on the shop floor in the function. And unless you build champions of digital there, and it's a combination of training, theoretical training, on the job training, and also incentivization through these innovation programs. So that's one. The second part I would say is talent network. Very critical. And that's where we have to understand that no one organization today has all the talent. I've been with Accenture, I've been with IBM, I talk to my colleagues who are the hyperscalers, some of the leading SI partners, none of them claim to have all the talent. And therefore, if you look at even them, what they have done is they have created a partner network. So whether you work with NASCOM or whether you work with one of them, you get connected to the primary set of talent partners as well as the startup network. So because a lot of your business problems probably have been solved. So here you may have the lock in your hand. You may say, I have this problem to solve, this is the lock. The key could be with one of the startups, right? So do you build from scratch and allow your competition to go ahead, or you smartly sign an NDA, or they have built something, you adapt it to yourself, so you may adopt or you may adapt, and some you may decide to build completely on your own. So it's a balanced decision. What do I insource? What do I co-develop, co-source? And what do I outsource? So that is the first thing, strategic decision making. In, for example, here we have taken a lot of people in data science, data engineering, data scientists significantly in-house because we think that's a strategic skill. Similarly, every company could have their own strategy. The second part is academic partnerships. A lot of key cutting edge research happens with academic partnerships. So, for example, in material science, and I can't disclose more than this, Jagdish, but in material science, in advanced material science, we have struck partnership with one of the leading IITs to see how AI can be used in complex formulations in simulations, right? So that's another area. But can you do that in house? Do you have the talent? Do the startups do that? So you have to still choose a partner. It can be an academic partner. So that's the second piece, the talent network. The third piece are the emerging technologies. Now, when you talk about emerging technologies, we have to understand what is a stable, proven technology versus where there is a hype. So, when generative AI came in, it came in like a tsunami, right? There is still a lot of hype. The question is, which are the problems and I'm just taking an example, right? Because there are a lot of hype around emerging technology. So, it is very important to make a distinction that which emerging technologies are ready to be used, or if you are not clear, can I do a proof of concept to see whether it works? So when you do the budgeting, at least one of the best practice I would suggest is when you create a budget, part of the budget has to be to say there is no ROI. It can go down the drain. I will do a POC. That's the cost of doing business. If you want to, so that's the message we need to tell our bosses. And fortunately, I have that support from my boss to say, This is a fund. You do a POC, learn from it. If you have to fail, fail fast, move on. So the fail fast culture and learning from it and moving on is a very inherent part of digital transformation, because not all solutions will be ready. Some technologies could be 2 years away. We may still see something fail. So, and then the ones that are successful, then we have to know what business problems can they solve, which means it now comes to the fourth stage, marrying the technology to the business problem, which is the most important thing, because that is eventually what will give the ROI. So, what are my most critical business issues which are holding me up from being a leader in the market? If I have to achieve competitive differentiation, which are the top areas to focus? Honest, heartfelt discussion, brainstorming with business to say these are our problems. And then you apply the technology lens to say, can I do a non-linear approach? The traditional classical approaches are always there. They will not work beyond the point. But can I use a disruptive technology to make it work in a very different way? And that's where the whole use case angle comes. Marrying the business problem on one side and the available technology on the side. That's the intersection point. So these are the four components of digital transformation. The four horses of a chariot, as I say, they need to be synchronized. Not all of them will run at the same time, at the same pace, but it's our responsibility as a CDO to be able to manage and keep an eye on all four.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. No, before you put those four horses to the chariot of Ben Hur, you got to groom those horses.
Yes, absolutely. Well said.
You got to build that muscle. So just like quickly summarizing what Satyaki said. So first thing is culture. It has to be digital first. Practical stuff that can be done to do that is like have 1 to 2 digital related goals in the goal sheets or top leaders. Practice it day to day in various forms like annual innovation contests, local hackathons. Put it in the, I mean, sort of like cascade it down to the KPIs of local leaders in terms of creating digital champions and the related programs. Talent network, I think, very powerful statement. No one organization today has all the talent, so everyone has to build a partner network. These exist in the technology world. I think as organizations we need to learn how to create our own partner network. And I really liked, there's generally this in supply chain, there's a build or buy. I like that you have a third element there: build, co-source, and outsource.
Yeah,
That means, and I like the term you used, adopt or adapt. I think that's a very powerful distinction that you made. Again, like as part of your talent network, there are some things which a partner cannot help you, startup cannot help you. You have to go to academia to build that partnership. Like for example, some fundamental science or material research that you mentioned. Emerging technologies, whether it's a stable technology or hype technology. And I really like that very powerful statement you made, that part of the budget has to be budgeted to go down the drain.
yeah,
and
yeah,
and that's basically to fail fast to learn. And many a times, whether it's a hype tech or stable tech, is based on your context and cannot be learned unless you have done a POC. So be ready to
absolutely.
fail fast, learn, and finally, like marry the technology to the business problem. And not just anything, what are your top critical business issues, which are the things that can give you a competitive edge, and then fit and have those honest discussions with the businesses uh, to fit the technology to the business cases. So let us. I think we don't have much time now, Satyaki. It has been such a. Generally happens that the discussion is so engaging that like we just lose sense of time. So now let's go in a bit of a, you can say, rapid fire mode here. I have lots
Sure.
of questions coming from audience also. So first rapid fire. So you transition from IT delivery on the supplier side to a CDO on the business side. So what are the challenges you faced? So what was Let me ask you in a rapid fire form. What are the things that are same between the two roles, and what are the things that have become different?
So quickly, same things, right? So delivering to the business case, wherever you are, it's
That
common. It
remains
doesn't
same.
change, right? The processes, the controls, whichever transformation you do, they remain the same. They don't change based on where you are, right? And connect, keeping connected to the operations, to the people, the roles, is same wherever you are, right? That can't change. So I think these are the commonalities I would call out, right? But where are the key differences? See, in when I was on the service provider side, primary focus was on the delivery execution, and the accuracy of delivery execution. Whereas when you're on the CDO side, when you're playing the role of a CDO, it's very important that you look at the overall broad vision, the strategy, and what technology. So all this, putting all those four pillars that I just talked about, that is the role of a CDO, which normally when you sit on the other side, you will not be building for a client end to end. That's the role that the CDO has to do on the client side, right? And it's a, you bring in multiple angles. You bring in your problem solving angle, you bring in a more visionary angle, you bring in a partner networking angle. So you have to bring in multiple sides of the personality when you are working as a CDO. That has been my learning. So it's a conscious effort to change.
Yeah.
uh,
So let me add the last one. So when you're on the CDO side, you don't really have to work. You don't really have to worry about the gross margins.
well, yes, of the contract, yes, but we have a different problem to solve.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, so I think we are sort of done, and uh, let me now go to the audience questions and then see if I can mix some with my own rapid fires. So, there's a question from Nitin which says, "In converging IT world, what's the future of bimodal? What's your thoughts? Like quick, 1 minute answer."
Uh, I would say if you're talking about bimodal UI, if that's your question, I would say if you're talking in the question of UI, we talk about
No, it's
multimodal.
bimodal IT, which is like, you have IT on two tracks. You have system of records which goes on a slow track. You have systems of innovation which go
Okay.
on a fast track.
It will always be there. This has been it has been even 10 years back. It will be there 10 years from now. You will always see one set of applications at one speed, and you will always have applications coming on a different track. So the question is how they need to be modernized. How do you keep modernizing one, and how do you keep integrating to the other? I think these are the things. It will always be there together.
Bimodal is always relevant. Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
absolutely, absolutely. So, then there's another question uh, from. There's a comment from Manish Gupta I just want to bring in. Hey, hi Manish, thanks for joining us. WEF Lighthouse is an exceptional feeder in the cap for CEAT, so kudos. Um, and then we have, okay, so this is a question from Nitin. Now that I think you partly answered it, but you can add something more. As the CDO, what's your suggestion on designing a retained organization for CEAT, assuming significant business transformation?
so what is important is uh, when you design a retained organization, the whole point is what do you consider as strategic skills, and it's always a value versus a cost play. So what do you want to internalize? Where do you want to focus on? So, for example, in CEAT, we believe that data and AI is going to be extremely important. So we have significantly invested in data scientists, data engineers, analytics specialists, UI designers. So we have significantly spent or invested in that. We have consciously kept the entire development, pure development skills with our partners. Again, we have invested in architecture skills. We did not have architecture skills. So one thing I would say, strategy and architecture must be part of the retained organization, because that's what the key is. If we outsource architecture, if we outsource strategic uh, strategic design of the retained of the, I would say, of the digital piece, that's where we lose out. So
Absolutely.
Thought leadership must be insourced, right? We can partner, but that's to be insourced.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think the ground level technical skills change very fast. It's better to keep them out. But yeah, architecture, strategy, design, I think those things need to be inside. I would probably just add to it, and that would be maybe user experience, not the design of the user experience, but the user experience strategy as such. Yeah.
Strategy, yes.
Have some competency inside, because that's what is kind of at the heart of digital today. Okay, so again, we are out of time, but I don't want to miss out on the questions, Satyaki. So the next question is, with IT and OT convergence and also technology getting gradually embedded in the business function as part of the overall business strategy, how do you see the role of the IT department and CIO CDO evolving? So it's like, I think this is a good question that, I mean, is like, does everything has to be in IT, or like, how do these IT and let's say functional IT operate?
So I have seen, I don't think there is one answer that will fit everything, right? There are multiple models I've seen. So I have seen, and there are pros and cons. So it is difficult. So I'll give a view quickly. I think this, see, the whole digital function of the CDO, for example, I report to the CEO. So it's a very business centric function that I report to. Okay. Now, you also have shadow ITs, right? Because you have people who are, for example, in my QA department, some people working on some generative AI app without my knowledge. That can happen because it's people who are excited about things. They're young people. They want to do something. That can always happen. So I don't think, and that is in a way, at some point, it was taken as a disadvantage. There are certain disadvantages, but there are advantages because they can then become your digital champions. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
so then you can democratize. Then you can democratize also the whole digital, and you can build that culture very fast. So it is a bit of seeing how can I play that to my advantage rather than saying it is working against me. So no one answer, but there are two sides that we can look at.
Actually, I mean, no, I would say I used to look at it very selfishly. That
Yeah.
okay, I have my next IT team member, somebody passionate about IT, trying to do something.
Yes,
Come over, guy.
correct.
Okay, so another one, Manish Gupta, he's asking a question. Per your experiences, what has been the success percentages for IT digital transformation in India enterprises versus the global customers? What are the reasons for falling behind, if at all it is the case for India? So I mean, this is coming from like, your global experience. What is the level of maturity in digital, in
Yeah.
in defining the programs, executing the programs, and then getting the KPIs?
So I would say in general, so let me not give a percentage. I don't have a measured percentage to tell you, but let me tell you definitely, if I look at matured markets like the US, the UK, Australia, I have seen a much higher percentage of success. And the reason has been that they think long term and they put a lot of effort on this, on the methodology. So in India, for example, if I see some of my, I mean, from the past experience, if we had to do an India-centric solution, the problem will start will when can the build start? Build कब से शुरू होगा? But even do you before a build, very few companies put money and effort behind the business case and the design. In Accenture, when I was there, roughly 35 to 40% of the effort of the estimate, right? I'm just giving a broad number. It used to go behind the till the design phase. From the analyze to the design, 40% of your effort would have gone there. Whereas if I see in Indian market, it is just about 10% and then or 15% and then you directly go into build. So the better you have put your thinking in understanding the change management, the business case, the KPIs, the roles, the better you are from a long-term perspective to be more successful.
Absolutely. I think I have seen that as well. I mean, I would completely agree with that. Yeah. So spend a long time on business case, and actually spend a lot of time in getting the right resources full time on the project. In India, I have seen a lot of projects start with part time resources, and that's, many times becomes a recipe for failure. So another rapid fire, Satyaki. You got to be a little faster for the rapid fires. From global Fortune 500 to CEAT, how is the experience? What are three things as an advice for similar moves? Nitin, he's also planning to move to internal IT, looks like.
Quick quick answer is it has been a fabulous experience. I would say think business, think business, think business. That's the only thing I would say because you're dealing with IT here or digital here. Uh, I would say it's been some kind of a adjustment because you are not probably fully used to be on the business side. So it's a transformation. I wouldn't say it is right or wrong. I am thoroughly enjoying it. People who are savvy, they can do it.
Okay. So there's another kudos for you. CEAT's culture of accepting failures and failing fast to move on should be pollinated across the India. So yes, definitely. There's another question from Lakshmikant. How do you see automation is becoming a must-have from good to have from past experiences?
It's a given, right?
It's a
So
given. Yeah.
it's a given. It starts with lean. So where there is lean, so you don't start with automation. So one thing I have to say, never start with automation, start with elimination. Start being lean, start transform, and then whatever is left, automate that. But do not automate just because something is there to automate. Eliminate if you can in the first place.
That's a great advice actually. Start with elimination and whatever is left, automate that.
Yeah. And,
So
and that I've seen as a very successful philosophy.
yeah, yeah. I'll add to it. Think lean. Yeah, that's the principle of lean. Yeah. Okay. So another question: is it important for a data scientist to dive deep into the field before analyzing data? Good question.
Uh, to dive deep into the field before analyzing, well, a data scientist needs to understand the data, right? Uh, so I'm not exactly clear what the question is, but uh,
I think it
so
is
I'm
about like
assuming,
how much of domain or context should you understand before diving
okay,
deep into.
so it's very critical because if we again don't understand the business case and what is the data all about, right? If you just look at data, it will remain as data. But if I look through the business context and understand what it is the data right? Is the data quality okay? Because you cannot start building a model for a data scientist unless the data quality or the outliers have been taken out, right? So
Yeah,
I would say it is very important.
yeah. I think what I've seen is that in data science there are like just too much of data, too many fields, etc. But I think once you have the what I have seen in my experience is very important to understand which data elements are more sensitive to the business problem or the business outcomes. Some are more, some are less. So that industry exposure only can give you that answer.
Correct. But you
Yeah,
also have statistical methods like exploration, EDA, and all of this feature engineering that we do, which
yeah,
eventually you have to do that before you do this any of the feature engineering or EDA.
no, absolutely, absolutely. So maybe just that leaves just one question for me as a rapid fire, Satyaki, which is the most what do you call the most glamorous failure you ever had.
Okay. This was, I wouldn't say a failure, but it was a major setback. We, I had taken up a red account at Accenture, and it was a very difficult client. It was the world's largest oil field services provider. Uh, I failed to gather the sentiment of the stakeholder. So while I was looking at numbers, I failed to understand the subtle expectations of the stakeholder. And there was a subcontract, not the whole contract, it was a small part of the contract that went away to competition. And there I understood the importance of understanding people, stakeholders' expectations, not just look at a contract document or the business case. So the importance of building relationships is what I learned from there.
Yeah, actually, many times we get it wrong in terms of the sentiments or the
Yeah.
undercurrents. Sometimes you may call it. Yeah, I've seen these people getting it wrong. Hey, before we leave, or before I summarize the session and then end it, maybe any revenge questions, Satyaki? I've been asking you all the questions, so you get to take some revenge.
Well, well, what, I don't know. I mean, people would have asked you again and again. So I don't know if this is a repetition. So what's that kick you get out of this?
Out
I
of
mean,
ClariTea Chat.
out of holding this, this is great. I mean, it's a fantastic chat that you bring this out. What is it? I mean, obviously you don't do this for a living, but what is it that you do out of your passion? What keeps you going on this?
Mm.
Why do you do this?
So first things first. I mean, I don't do it for a living because I have kept it non-commercial.
Correct.
I've checked with my ClariTea Chat speakers that should we take it commercial? And they are no. They love the independent nature of it, and the way we can call out anything under the sun and discuss it with our audience. So nobody wants to lose that independence, not as me. Coming to so two three things. One is that again, I actually, even though I'm a consultant advisor, I don't really do any business development with my ClariTea Chat speakers. So this is a very special relationship because we actually get to know each other so deeper during the process of that prep chat and all that. I actually get to learn much more
Awesome.
in the process because I always say that people are like icebergs, right? So when I
Yeah.
meet you, when I shake hands with you in a conference and say, Satyaki, oh yeah, yeah, same college, same this thing, CDO of CEAT, and we'll talk all about the digital stuff and all, but I may completely miss the IBM and Accentures and all that oil and gas stuff that you like so freely told me about in our prep chat. So I think almost we spend almost 2.5 hours together, and I think that cements a bond which I really cherish. So I really love it,
Wonderful.
and that's what. And the other thing that keeps me going. Now that's how we started. What keeps me going is all the comments that you see on the right side.
Yeah.
That's the engagement.
No,
Yes.
so keeping the audience engaged,
Yeah.
uh, and it's a collective learning.
And I mean, we have seen the stats week after week. Um, Actually, many more people watch ClariTea Chat recordings afterwards because we see the numbers like kind of just go up in thousands in like 2 weeks time. So a lot more people, and then we of course like we do summaries and all of that. So just to make it like more consumable because 1 hour of video can be quite a lot.
True.
Yeah. So so thank you, Satyaki, for being there. One of our audience feedback used to be that hey, 1 hour session, can you give me a summary of it? So we have a process to create a summary. So let me summarize it in the next 5 minutes before we uh, before we call it a day. So yeah, I mean, from Satyaki's career journey and those steps and the takeaways. So Tata Hitachi solving problems, IBM understanding clients' context and values, being on site, Accenture going deep into oil and gas industry knowledge, learning process standardization, stakeholder management, and now in IBM, like then doing the entire end-to-end outsourcing, right from RFP to transition delivery, delivering the business case. Um, and then again, coming back to Accenture, global IT and digital transformation, business cases, delivering business cases, getting deeper into clients' point of view, and then like taking it all in your own hands and becoming the CDO of CEAT. And a big, I would say, validation there, the Lighthouse certification from World Economic Forum. Um, so, uh, you know, um, okay, so there was one question. I think there was a question from Amarinder, and that was like, yeah. So there was the other one, which was about like, learnings from IBM and Accenture. So, start with why, understand it well. Do you understand the business case, the motivation client has? And what all can go wrong. Solution and business case may not align, solution and capabilities may not align, contract and expectations may not match. So all of these things have to fall in line: business case, solution, architecture, contract, KPIs, and all. I think this is something that is a big, I would say, contributor to what he's able to do today. Um, we Then we talked about the four pillars of transformation. Very good visualization there. I can still see the four horses racing the Ben Hur chariot. Um, the four horses are like the culture, talent, ecosystem, technology, and use cases, and you need to really breed those four horses and put them to work. Lots of practical advice on how to build a digital first culture, have digital related goals in the goal sheets of top leaders, cascade it down to the local leaders, build digital champions, and a lot of it, like, bringing KPIs, bringing it into KPIs of people. Talent networks, again, build your own talent network, which should have your technology partners, the big ones, the small ones, the startups, as well as the academia. Learn emerging technologies. A very golden sentence there. Part of the budget has to be budgeted to go down the drain, which is to fail fast and to learn, and only a first-hand experience of a technology can really tell you what are the capabilities and limitations and whether it's hype or real. And then marry the technology to business problem by having some honest brainstorming conversations with your business guys. So, and of course, we had a good round of rapid fire questions. We generally bring out a separate rapid fire, PDF later on. It comes quite late, just to rekindle the interest in this one. So we'll bring it out at the appropriate time. So thank you, Satyaki, for being on the chat, and thank you for overstaying. I think it was a pretty
Thank
engaging
you.
discussion. We lost sense
I
of
love
time.
I love the conversation.
Thanks, Satyaki. And before we leave, thank you all our audience for attending and engaging, and a ton of questions which kind of just kept us over. And for all of you who are watching the recording, thank you for your time as well. Everyone, please enjoy your family time and have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks,
See you.
Jagdish.
Hey, thanks, Satyaki. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. Have a great weekend.